Welcome to the Meditation Podcast. You can find all our episodes on meditationpodcast.org. We're also on BitChute and YouTube. You'll find the links in the podcast description. I'm also a podcasting coach, and I've got 4 other podcasts, and 5 of them have got into the top 1.5%, with 4 getting to the top 0.5%. So I think I know what I'm doing. And you'll find everything on bio.link/podcaster. Today, my guest from California, but living in Texas for a while now. Please welcome energy coach Alida Morrill. Did I do it justice?
You did great. Yes. Hello, all. And yes, I am an energy coach. And basically, if I was in, the elevator conversation, someone asked me, well, what do you do? And I tell people, well, I'm an energy coach. And of course, they might be thinking electricity, right? And then
Especially in the lift.
and then I follow it up with, and I help people get rid of their bad juju. and so that's basically what I do. I've been at this for 13 years. So I've had a nice long career doing it. After my 40-year corporate career, I had no idea what plan B would be. And then I ended up back in 2009 with a whole year of awakening to energies and what energies are and dark energies. And my friends would tell me there's no such thing as dark energy. So if you have dark energy around you, you're creating it. And I'm thinking, oh, I don't think that's true. I no way created this. So what it was is that my journey was different. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody has a different piece of the pie, a different perspective, a different way of dealing with energies. And mine just happens to be taking a person from maybe they're having trouble with their finances, or maybe they have a health situation that's just not good, or maybe they're having relationship issues. A marriage that's in trouble. And so people come to me with all of these issues. And what we do is I simply ask them, what's not working in your life? So that's the first question. And then they go into an explanation. It's not long because I want to be working on energy. I don't want to be sitting there in chit chat about problems anyway. So then the second question is simple. It's like, well, what would you rather have? So we talk about, the first is, cup half empty, and the second is cup half full. And then after that, which normally is the opposite of what they've been telling me about not working in their life. And then the third thing we do is the most important. And that is we create an intention statement. So the intention statement is kind of nirvana. It's like, what do they really want in their life? Some people, they come to me and they want to be on their perfect path to their purpose. They're waking up and they're confused. Some people, it's just, I want perfect health. I want my health back. I want a job I love where I make the money that I feel I deserve. Okay. So that intention statement is critical, because my process, which is a huge spreadsheet, and I can tell you about how I created that, but it's a huge spreadsheet, and I go through that spreadsheet methodically, one type of energy at a time, and I uncover what the energies are that are keeping that client, excuse me, from reaching that intention. So that's specifically what we're clearing. So, and of course, I had in my grand journey of learning about energies, I had no clue before I started, but I learned about dark energy. So that's the first thing I look for and make sure they're eliminated, because if there's dark energies there, I can't find the rest. So for my work, there is beneficial energy, which is good energy we want to live with. And then there's non-beneficial energy that's harmful to us, and it keeps us stuck in a box or trapped so that we can't go forward and live a happy life. And so non-beneficial energy is in 2 categories. It's either dark or it's not. Okay. So in my work, I look for all the dark energies. And then after that, I go into what I call the non-beneficial that aren't dark. And that can be generational issues. Maybe, Grandpa Joe was really an angry person. And all of a sudden we realize that anger goes back maybe 20 generations. And the person kind of got stuck with that emotion. And so we look to clear it. Take a breath.
And with, like, say, the dark energy, because I often thought that, especially if someone is drinking, because sometimes some people, they just change. Like,
Yes,
it doesn't affect me that way, but I have seen people that become extremely nasty when they're drinking. Is it that you attract the negative energies because it's kind of taken over, that you've got, I don't know, is it less willpower or strength within?
So I have a story I made up and that I tell. And so you have someone who goes to the bar and they drink and they tie one on, and all of a sudden they're in argument with the bartender. They're really getting sloshy, ugly, like you're talking about, right? And then they go home and they kind of sleep it off. They wake up in the next morning and their thought is, you want to drink, not I want to drink, you want to drink. That's because what happens sometimes for these people that are not necessarily positive energy, they go out and drink and tie one on, they attract other energies that are that lower vibration, and that could be a spirit that attaches to them and is like an overlay, is what I call it. And so that's what's made them nasty, is this, maybe someone died and went to the bar and is a spirit hanging out at the bar. Okay. And what I do, my work is kind of interesting. So when I go to clear that, because I see that all the time, drugs, alcohol, all the things people get into that is disrespectful to their body. Okay. And what I do is I clear that attached entity. So I could look at the person and shoo away the energy, but I don't do that. I find that if I take that entity that's attached and I find out what do they need to clear, and I clear them and then they release. It's kind of cool. And that happens in all my work. Yeah, you're right.
And when you're kind of doing that, then that you're finding out the entity, but do you have to kind of strengthen the individual as well, that there's not more negativity being attracted to them?
Absolutely. Once I find all these energies and get them cleared, one of the last things I do is I increase their protection. So I have many forms of protection. I have, I'm kind of clever and I have fun with it. And so I even have protection I put on a person that I call the hazmat suit protection, right? So I have a sense of humor. And yet I'm thinking in terms of practically, what do people do if they're going into, a scene of nasty, physical stuff? They're going to put on a hazmat suit. So some people get the energetic hazmat suit because they need to really protect them until they get their thinking changed. So we have a lot of people that get impacted by their stinking thinking, right? They're thinking negative all the time. They're the whole world is just ending and this is bad and that's bad. Well, every thought we have is creating our future. Okay. So we got to keep our thoughts clean. We got to keep our thoughts positive to what we want versus what we don't want. The more we talk about what we don't want, the more we're manifesting it. So I end every session with teaching a tool I learned back in 2009, my first year. And it's called the One Command. And it is a way to help people focus on what they want by creating the statement that the tool teaches, which is based on a book by Sarah Lovejoy called The One Command. And a one command would be, let's say, I don't know how I keep my thoughts positive. I only know I do now, and I'm grateful and fulfilled. And so it's a statement that has a specific format where when you say, I don't know how, that bypasses your beta brain, because your beta brain's going, you're right, you don't know how, okay? But God doesn't hear the don't. So we're saying, I know how, all right? So I don't know how I keep my thoughts positive. It's what we want in present terms as though it's already happened. And then I am grateful, which is the thank you, and fulfilled, which is the blessing. So it's an incredible tool. And I teach it to every client because I feel so strongly that they have to, there's some thinking that they need to change. Okay. That's critical.
And I suppose, given the craziness in the last 3 years now, nearly, what I've noticed is, I mean, I'm exposing a lot of what's going on with a podcast, another podcast, the Awakening podcast.
Right.
But I'm more kind of solution orientated. I'm kind of, because you're thinking about what you think about, you're attracting. But I have seen a lot of other podcasters that basically absorb all the negativity when researching and everything, and they're either getting ill a lot or they're getting very depressed. Whereas I don't allow that. I just kind of, and it's not that it doesn't affect me, because sometimes I know some satanic stuff. It is really what's going on. I get it, and it can affect me. And there's a time I can cry even doing research, but I can step away from that. And then I'll watch a comedy, or I'll do stuff that's totally separate from that. And I'm not carrying it with me. But I think so many people now around the world that are trying to fight the evil are probably doing themselves no good, because all they're doing is regurgitating the negativity the whole time.
Yes, absolutely. And you bring up satanic ritual abuse. And so I don't know how many years ago, but I was guided to research it. And I did. Okay. And I understand how you have to keep yourself completely separate from that energy. Ultimately, I manifested, I didn't know why God wanted me to do that. I have a very close relationship with God. That's my go-to. But I kept, do I need to research this one? Yes. This one? Yes. I'm going, God, why? Well, I ended up with a client that went through satanic ritual abuse. So I was able to understand what was the background, which I would have never understood had I not researched it. But absolutely, I have so much protection on my body, on myself energetically, so that nothing, it's very rare that I pick up something negative, and only pick it up now if I needed to understand it. Because recently, I think last week, I hadn't picked up energy in 2-3 months, and I picked up something because I needed to clear my granddaughter and her grandparents. They had this energy, and I needed to get it cleared. And it's kind of like the only way I was going to get it through my head that I needed to do it was to absorb it. So that's interesting. Mm-hmm. You're so right. Mm-hmm.
And like what I've seen as well, and it's mainly, I see it with my mother. My mother is such an amazing person that, and she tends to have trouble sleeping and everything, but it's like everybody with their problems go to her because she's such a good person. And I think that's kind of, they're dumping their negative baggage on top of her.
Yes. Absolutely. And that happens. And someone like your mother needs ultimate protection from them so that she can, maintain her happy-go-lucky super self, right? So that she can help other people. Absolutely. Let me test her. She is clear and doesn't have any baggage.
with kind of, I suppose, it's keeping yourself in flow and I suppose keeping away the negative energy. I mean, just things that I do is like making sure I'm grounded. When the weather is nicer, I'm outside reading in the sun. I like sun gazing and things like that. But I suppose a lot of things like that, and especially not shallow breathing as well. And, you know, I
Yes.
go to the gym and things. Is there different things that you'd recommend that definitely help you? Because I think the stronger that you are mentally and physically, it helps you in all things. Yeah.
Right. My first go-to that we all must maintain grounding. Okay. And no matter, if we can go outside and have our bare feet in the grass, that's wonderful. But if we can't, then we can do energetic grounding of our body anytime. And we must maintain grounding. And the second thing is that we must maintain being clear, right? So I know to a lot of people that I help, they have no clue that there's energies that are evading, causing them problems. They don't even know that. But if we just said a prayer to however we pray that God, whatever, please keep me grounded and clear today. I have a lot going on and I want to be 100% in all aspects of my day. And so we have that mindset to ask for it. So a lot of people don't realize that our prayers can be answered in any way we put them out there. And then the third thing is protection, energetic protection, right? We all should wear our bubble. Our bubble is wonderful. It just keeps us and keeps our aura protected from other people's energy. Probably, I have several go-tos for protection. I love the armor of God from the Bible. It's from Ephesians 6. And I have a handout that I give my clients, read this and wear this all the time. I mean, the most important part of that armor is the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, and that protects us. Okay. So after that, one of the things I do for protection is I made up this light pillar. Okay. So it's like a cylinder that's all the way around me. Okay. And it goes all the way up to wherever up is and all the way down into the earth. And so I say that God, love, and light is constantly flowing. So it's flowing, spilling over my shoulders and filling me. Okay. All that God, love, and light goes down into the earth. And then it comes back up with Mother Earth, love. Okay. And both of those circle our heart. And it's a wonderful place to be, to always be in that extreme love and light. All right. And then let me tell you some of my other tricks. Okay. So when somebody is, maybe they're being attacked, that does happen. And so what I do with them is I encrypt their energy. So encryption is this, like, I just mix it up so that they can't be remote viewed. Nobody can look at them. So what they speak, what they think, any aspect of their being is hidden. Okay. And then the other thing I do is I put them under a stealth shield. So if you've ever seen a stealth bomber, it's pretty cool. So it's flying across, and then all of a sudden there's just clouds or something that covers it completely. And so some people need to operate under a stealth shield again, because, different people, maybe they're doing some nice things. And I call that there's we're on the good team. Okay. There's an evil team. Okay. And if you watched the Grammys, you saw the evil team. You saw demonic, there's a ritual. Okay. So they exist both physically in our world and energetically. Okay. And so we just have to really stay protected from that evil. And some people, when they're doing really good things or they're starting to wake up, then they end up under attack. So this really helps them. So those are the three things I think that we should just constantly have at 100% in our body. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. And you mentioned the attack, because I mean, I've been removed from YouTube, I've been removed from Linktree, even on LinkedIn they kicked me off, and it's like, I know I'm shadow banned, and I know, and there's a few others that I kind of surround myself with the same, but then there's other people that are coming out kind of so-called telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And they're getting millions and millions of views, because it's like they're part of the system. And I mean, like, even if you say, look at Joe Rogan, right? He comes out, he's like the top podcaster out there. He's saying all the right things at times, all connection with love, but then he's dropping the bomb. He's putting in the things, and it's like, there's too many times he has done that, and the people he's getting, and there's a few like that. There's a few people out there that are actually doing that. And I think people have to be cautious as well. That I think you have to just trust yourself and stop following blindly, thinking that person is going to be the savior. Because the reality is we have to become sovereign ourselves and just not live in fear.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. We have to pick and choose from podcasters. We can watch one for a certain period of time, and then we realize we've done that one well. We're going to go on and find another one to watch and follow. I'm very, there's a big ebb and flow to what I watch and keep updated on. I'm very, very, kind of educated about what's going on in our world right now. And I'm very attuned to what I mentioned before, the good versus the evil. It's so part of my work that I'm constantly looking for the good energy. So let's just say, I'll go down a different track. Let's just say someone comes to me and I test that they're not on our team. They're not on the good team. They're on the evil team. I can't clear them. Okay. So most often it isn't the person that comes to me, because that's really, there's a guidance to who comes to see me that is pretty beautiful. Okay. And so it's most often happens when the person comes in and they say, can we check my husband? And then I check the husband and say, well, he's not on our team. I can't. Okay. So once that happens, I tell you, I have a sense of humor. I have a lightness and brightness about my work. So I ask, I know they're not on our team. Can I check their energy? And I get no. Okay. Because I'm asking questions all the time and I'm getting spiritual answers. Okay. So then I say, well, can I go through the back door? Like sneak in? And sometimes I get yes. And I can go in the back door and then test their energy. Most often I get no. And then the third question I ask, because I really want to help these people, because sometimes they are on the team of evil because they made mistakes or they're not really an evil person. Okay. So then I check, is there a spark? So that's a spark of goodness that's in there. And if I get a yes, I energetically blow on that spark to start enhancing it. And most often it gets so big that I can then go in and check their energy. So I think it's pretty cool that I figured out that process of being able to help somebody who slipped onto the evil team. Someone that's full out evil, there's no way I can ever touch them. Okay.
And I mean, it wasn't the angle that I want to go through, but I find this stuff fascinating. Like, I know that obviously there's some people, there's no changing them, as you say, but apparently just from the research and things I've done, sometimes the baby in the womb, they start doing electric shocks and torturing and everything. It's like to disconnect the brain so there's no empathy, which in turn means they didn't have a chance in life. It's different for the person that just kind of changes in their 20s or 30s and make a decision because of monetary value or whatever. We see that. But I know that there's a high percentage that unfortunately they were born into this.
Yes,
and like,
absolutely.
are we like, I think we have to be empathic with that. And is there ways that the energy with them can be changed because it's a different situation?
I find that if they didn't choose it with their free will and it was done to them, I find we can help change them out of it. So it's a free will issue.
Okay, yeah, perfect. And I'm just curious that, the way sometimes you go into a certain building or a certain place and you just get a vibe about you, just EVGB, the creeps. And it's not just you, it's like that. Is that a negative entity, or what's your thoughts behind what exactly that is?
It could be several things. Absolutely, it could be a negative entity that's just hanging out there. But it also can be negative thought forms. So let's just say in a hospital, so many people are coming in with fear. There's fear hanging out in the hospital now. Okay. Let's say we're going to a business building and there's meeting rooms, and the meeting rooms had heated arguments in them. Then there's angry energy within that building. So I typically find probably the 80-20 rule, that when buildings or homes are have negative energy, that it's mostly predominantly because of negative thought forms. Okay. And then probably 20% would be an entity that's there that has that feeling. But you can imagine, I worked in corporate America for 40 years. I wish I knew these tools when I was working, because there were times I'd walk into a conference room after a meeting and it just felt humid and icky, and I could have cleared it. Right. So and cleared the meeting, right, and cleared what their accomplishments would need to be. So we obviously run into these dark energies. A lot of times it's people's homes. They can be so unclear, and maybe you're worried about something, then that worry enters the house. You might be sick and be angry because you're sick. Well, your anger enters the house. So we must keep ourselves clean, and it's easy to keep our homes clear. Let me take a moment to teach what I teach. Is I do classes. I teach a course in awareness, which is a 5-class course. And I take people through how to wake up, not how I did, which was one hell of a hard year. Okay. I want it to be easier for people to raise their vibration and to raise their awareness. Okay. So one thing I teach in my classes is how to clear energy. Okay. And so the simple way that I came up with was, see, this that I'm holding is my Kevlar net. Okay, you can't see it, but it's there. It's full of energy. It's full of incredible energies that I put in it. It's got the energy of the Madagascar spider that spins beautiful gold thread. It has the Cambodia fabric that they use to make bulletproof clothing, and Kevlar. Kevlar is made for strong racing sailboats. So sails on sailboats. So here's my Kevlar net, right? So what I do is that I simply wrap, let's say I'm going to clear my cell phone. I just wrap it around my cell phone, bring it up, get all 4 corners in my hand, and then I scrunch it down onto my cell phone, pull it through, and now I have what I call a hobo bag, okay? And we can just then send it with our right arm to the light. We've pulled all the energy out of our cell phone that's non-beneficial energy. So when I do a house, which is I want to shrink the house down to the size of a pea in my hand. I'm going to shrink it down, and I'm going to run the Kevlar net, pull it through, and send it to the light. It's just a simple way to keep our house clean and clear. And so there you go.
Oh, very good, very good. And like what I've noticed, I suppose, even with judges, policemen, a lot of the people that we know that they're not on our side. They're not, you know, the way I see it is you're doing a job. It's either for humanity or it's not. And they can never look you in the eye. You know, they like, once you have confidence in yourself and you know where you stand and you know you speak truth,
yes,
they crumble. And most people, it's the opposite, because when they use their authority and their power, the people quiver and step back because they think someone with a hat and a uniform, that they must be over them. And it's actually the opposite. And as soon as you stand up to, like, they really back down. So, I mean, you've obviously seen that yourself as well.
absolutely, absolutely. And what's interesting is that I see that when I'm out and about, right? Because through my work, I have beautiful people that come to improve their life. That's why they come to me. Okay. So as I'm doing my work, I don't have that negative person on the other team comes to me because I can't help them. So but when I'm out and about in the world, I do run into those people, and it is interesting. And you can tell right away that they're on the other team. And typically then I just exit stage left and leave the situation. Uh-huh.
And just like like you mentioned the Oscars, which it's once you kind of go down that rabbit hole and you start seeing all of these actors and singers and everything, it seems like they've all, I mean, they all say that, you know, they make a deal with
Yep.
the, and I don't even give it power by saying it, but you know what I mean. And
I do.
And it's like, there's so many things that I've seen where they're even saying they're being cloned and everything,
Yes.
which in turn, because you often wonder how come they're doing so much, even
Right.
though we see them, you know, drink driving and just doing a lot of bad. It tends, the negativity tends to come back to you. Rarely see the person that's out there that's flaunting all the negativity and doing all this kind of demonic stuff, that their life doesn't tend to be beautiful.
No.
Even though they have obviously the money that follows, but it's like the universe knows, and it kind of just comes back and bites them.
I think they, to what you just said, I think they get incredible karma happening to them. I really do. I don't think that they can live a beautiful day in their life. I don't think it's like that. And so we have the Super Bowl coming up, and the Super Bowl halftime show is always demonic. And it's going to be interesting, because that's the first time I realized. I was watching the Super Bowl back, who knows when that was, maybe 2009, 2010. And I saw Beyonce singing, and her hands were like this over the microphone, right? And I'm going, oh my God, that's a Satanic, you know? And I was just floored. And so ever since then, I mostly watch it to see what they're pumping into people, okay? Because when in that situation, I had someone who was struggling with an attached entity, and they watched that Super Bowl, and another entity jumped on them in that same Super Bowl I'm telling you about. And so I thought, that's interesting. People have to be careful when they're watching that stuff. So everything on TV is awful. Okay. So if you have TV playing, there's stuff coming in your house. Okay. So the other thing is that if you have a video game, okay, they're programmed to put energy in the person that's playing it. Do people know that? And here's how I know is that I had that years ago, my grandson got for Christmas the game Epic Mickey. Sounds good. Soon my daughter calls me and said, Mom, she said, would you please clear Spencer? He's gone off really bad and he's been playing that game. And he just got it for Christmas. So I cleared Spencer and I cleared the game. Okay. So what that brought up to me is that every time there's a video game that these kids are playing, and I have quite a few grandchildren that were playing games, I'm constantly clearing the games and keeping everything safe in between so that they can safely play them. We're not going to tell kids to not play these games. It just doesn't happen.
Because when you do that, they actually end up playing a lot more. You know, they do the opposite to what you actually want.
Exactly. So horrible energy comes through those games. I'm going to tell you, I've cleared some horrible stuff. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like the subliminal messages in games and on TV, and like, I mean, if you just look at all the Hollywood actors that have been caught in the last couple of years, and I mean, I've heard it's not just in Hollywood; it happens in Poland as well. I've been, told same thing happens everywhere, and like, I think the people must realize that, as you said, they're bringing in this negative. Like, if you look at Microsoft, like, I've never liked Microsoft because I remember I'm after buying this. This is when the computers were out first, when it became Windows 93. I don't know what it was, but it was and it was like, I changed computer and I have to buy this again. But then, like, they're creating the viruses, so you have to buy the antivirus, and it's the same guy now that's actually doing all the stuff that's going on at the moment. And they own Minecraft, which most of the children are actually addicted to.
Yes,
and, so what you had said earlier, the cleaning and everything, I think is very important. Because you see it. Like, I saw it. Like, my child plays that, and I tried to stop him, but it's like, I could see that if I don't kind of, I suppose, interact and just make sure everything's grand, you can see a change in a child in a couple of hours once they're on the computer. It's scary, the action. And unfortunately, now you've got mothers, they're giving the iPad and things like that to the baby in the pram just to give them peace and quiet. And the same with the children. Like, even my son is telling me that he's seen that the kids near him are addicted, because I play games. I play board games. I get to read. I mean, he read 100 books last year. I do as many things. Obviously, he still does a bit of the computer games, because you can't. It's like with the sweets. If you don't give them the sweets, that's when they become addicted to the sweets. You kind of have to let them put their toe in the water. But there's children, their whole day is actually watching the phone or the iPad, playing games.
I know. It's so sad. I just, when you see a baby that's not even a year old being given a phone to play with, it's just so sad. They shouldn't be given a phone at that age. No way, because the phone is programmed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I know you've, is this Life Energy? Is it you're working on the book, or is it about to be released soon?
I'm writing the book, Life Energy 2.0. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of telling my story, as well as bringing forth all my tools and tricks, and, getting your energy. So the subtitle of the book is Discovering the Keys to Awakening Inner Healing. And so it's to help people grow within themselves. So yes, I've got my release date now is November 1st. So that's what we're working towards.
Okay, excellent. And I suppose finally, like, for people to kind of maybe bring in some peace into themselves, what would you advise them? Because everyone, between the electricity, the gas bills, and all the different food short, everything that's going on in the world, how they can bring in inner peace. Because once you've got the peace, you can start thinking clearly, and life just becomes, you start looking, out of the clear glass instead of the dirty, muddy water.
Absolutely. So to give you an idea, my life is beautiful, right? So I wouldn't be really a good author if I wasn't doing these things myself. Okay. So every day I just wake up to, it's just like, oh, what do I get to do today? So it's all positive. There isn't any negative part to my day. If something happens that I don't like, well, okay, well then we'll fix it. So we do corrective action and then just move on. So I don't dwell on anything. I don't need to forgive anybody. A lot of people that don't forgive are just carrying baggage along with them in being grudged. Okay, so life is beautiful, and I want that for everybody. There isn't any reason every person can't bring their life into a peaceful state. There isn't any reason. So,
and like you mentioned, the forgiveness, I just know that it's the one thing, because I went through a lot of court cases, a lot of different things, and it was the act of forgiveness, because it's basically they're not thinking about it. If you're thinking about it and you've hatred and you've anger, it's you're actually putting that into yourselves. And as soon as you give forgiveness and also gratitude, you start thinking what you're grateful for, life just changes.
Absolutely. Forgiveness is for, if I'm forgiving, it's for me. It's really not for the other person. That's the biggest part of the forgiveness as I've grown in the area of being able to forgive, that I understand completely. It's more about what I need to do for my life than I need to do for the other people.
Yeah. No,
right.
Listen, Alida, thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. You might let people know how they can find you.
Okay. Well, I want to offer, I have a little opt-in free gift at www. I guess I don't need to say that, but it's awakeninglifeenergy.com. So if you go to that website and you opt in, I'm going to send you 7 emails, and I'm going to send you some tools that you can use in your life to improve it. Once you get on there, you'll see my main website and you'll be able to contact me. Another way is that I actually don't mind putting out my phone number. So I encourage people, if you've heard this today and you'd like to check in with me and see if I can help you, I would love to. And just text me at 214-504-8008. And then that's the 1 in the beginning. I think it's 1 or 10 for USA.
Yeah, +1 or 001 would be the code.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. The code before. But anyone out there, I would love to help you. That's just what I do. So just come on in.
Okay, perfect. I'll make sure I'll put the links both on the audio and video. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Yes.
So that's all for the Awakening podcast, or the meditation podcast. You'll find all our episodes on the meditationpodcast.org. We're also on BitChute and YouTube. And you'll find everything about me, my other podcasts, and the coaching bio.link /podcaster. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating, and a review. It all helps. Until next week, take care.